Well, Jarrell, I wish I could just listen to that string music instead of having this show tonight. We are the Fanatical Elfz. This is the post-game show. A little late tonight, a late night version of it. There's Jarrell Flint. I am John Suchan. Welcome to the show here with the Fanatical Elfz as we try to get our bearings. The Browns go down to defeat to the New York Giants 21-15 earlier today down at the stadium, Huntington Bank Field. I've got a little hoarse from probably screaming a little bit. Yeah, I was one of those boo birds at halftime. You can thank me as they were raining down at halftime. But Browns had some opportunities in the second half. Did not get a chance to bounce back. We can talk about all of that. Jarrell, welcome to the program. Jarrell, Dog Food Radio programming, and sounds like we're on baby duty tonight too, right?
On baby duty, but she's wearing a Browns onesie, and I told her we might just take the onesie off. They Browns don't even deserve you to wear that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to that's sweet,
right?
Just it's very frustrating. You know.
Yeah. On good news, I just want to give a shout out to the other colleagues here, the Fanatical Elfz, all the guys who are going to contribute this week, from Sam to Steve to Rod to Lou and Sherry. Who did I miss? I know I missed somebody.
Noah,
of course, Noah, College of Wooster guy. Did not get to see Noah today, but I did get to see Lou Marconi and Sherry down at the stadium before the game down on West 6th Street. At the Browns tailgate. Awesome time. I guess they charge $5 now to get in, but it's that whole street is blocked off. Food trucks, everything. So Sherry and Lou and I connected on that, and that was awesome. We were right in front of the 92.3 sports radio booth, and Ken Carmen, who I know Lou Marconi just loves, that's snarkiness, was there and came down, and Sherry has met, I think, Ken before, and he took some pictures with us, and so that was awesome. Okay. Shout out to him if they ever watch our podcast. But I want to get this out to Jarrell. Just if anybody's watching this, and if Ken Carmen happens to listen, I was really embarrassed because when he first came over, I shook his hand, and I shake with my left. I got an issue with my right. There's some. Okay, so long story short, I had when we took the photo, we got finished with the photo. He was wanting to shake her hand again, and he got to me. I had something in my right hand, and I don't normally shake with my right. Well, in my left hand, I had a beverage, and so I tried to put the beverage down, and the beverage got on my hand. So when I couldn't shake Ken Carmen's hand the second time, and I tried to tell him this, but it was a very awkward moment. So I hope he doesn't talk about it on his radio about some strange guy who refused to shake his hand. It was a funny moment, but anyhow, Sherry and Lou caught it. I told them, what was going on. They kind of laughed too, but so that was fun. That was before the game. Jarrell, the beginning of the game was as a Browns fan, throughout the Browns universe, it was the best moment in the history of Cleveland's Browns history. And if they had won the game today, that would have been one of those moments where we would talk about where we recover a fumble and we talk about throwing the pass to Sean Watson, stumbling out of the gate, but he throws a beautiful throw to Cooper, who we've all talked about, who haven't done squat, touchdown.
Yeah.
Browns go up 7-0. We think we're going there. Next drive, Giants are looking lost. Throws an interception right off the bat. We're all celebrating. We're like, oh my gosh. Yep. And then there's this damn flag. Greg Newsome hit high. Call it all back. They did this whole freaking celebration, the Browns players. Jarrell, you can pick it up from there because this is kind of where everything fell apart.
Yeah, that definitely changed the momentum. And as much as, I sometimes I hate the new version, the new era of the NFL where the quarterbacks are so coddled, because 10 years ago, that's not a penalty. You know what I'm saying? And
yes,
you have, it's interesting. I don't even know if they've had any hip drop tackle flags this season, but I probably can't even count the amount of questionable, roughing the passers. But yeah, on the telecast, when they picked that flag up, I think the Giants actually just marched down the field, and you could tell that probably woke them up. That was like a gift, from the gods. That it's like, oh, okay, we playing today, and
Right.
that 7-7 definitely changes the complexity of the game, or the complexion rather. If it's 10-0 or 14, with as close as they were, they probably would have scored on that.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. We're talking about Stefanski's
Yeah.
play calling here, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. So you go up 14 with that defense.
Yeah.
Change. It's a different game for sure.
The first we're going to talk about a lot about Stefanski and Watson, but I mean, just there's so many problems. Cleveland, we have a problem with this team. It's just so much right now, from the offensive line being in shambles. They're all hurt. They're all just, it's scary. Myles Garrett. Okay. Myles Garrett's, he couldn't walk after the game, basically. They're doing MRI on him. And if we don't have Myles Garrett for a while or a lot the rest of this season, and let me tell you that it looks, I'm thinking that this is not good, because he's already talking about he needed surgery and all this stuff. And now today, it could be really bad. And I don't, I know he's Superman and maybe he'll try to play through it, but for God's sakes, man, I don't know. You just had all sorts of issues, and I can't even blame, the one thing, like we missed a field goal today. We never see Hopkins miss field goals,
right.
But that was screwed up because Watson took a sack on the previous play. It would have been a 45-yard field goal probably if he doesn't take eight sacks, by the way, 8 sacks, 16 ties a Cleveland Browns record with our famous, wonderful quarterback who ran underneath the American flag, Brandon Whedon. It's atrocious. Now, I knew that Deshaun Watson had high numbers when it came to sacks. You knew that too coming into this year. So that's a big concern. 37 pass plays, 12 run plays by the running backs, 37 and 12. You heard that right, folks. That is what we're going to get into right now. So, Jarrell, take it from here and spill all your beans about Stefanski, because it is an issue. Watson's an issue. The offensive line's an issue. Our defense is an issue. We got a lot of issues. 99 problems.
Well, I'm gonna get into these stats, and I don't think the house is on fire as it appears to be. They definitely have to work on some things. I think the defense is okay. The one thing that concerns me is that you had CeeDee Lamb in week 1. It seemed like for some reason they were content on not putting their best corner on him, or at least doubling him and putting their best corner on somebody else. Same thing with Malik Neighbors. It's like they killed him in the first. He killed them in the first half, and then they finally made the adjustment, and then he was quiet. But by then, it was too late. You were down 2 scores. So I'd like to see a little bit more of a concerted effort to say this is their best weapon. We're going to take them out the game. I'd like to see that going forward. But I think the defense is fine. I think even if Myles has to miss a game or two, I trust the defense. I think the defense is okay. Now, the offense. Here's what I wanted to get into, and we kind of talked a little bit about it during the game. So I'll share this first little stats with our listeners, and then I'll go into the other people I have here.
Okay.
So Stefanski, a lot of people say, well, Flacco looked better running the offense, and PJ Walker, and he can make all these other quarterbacks look good, but why does Deshaun Watson look bad? So it made me curious. So I had to go back. I wanted to look at Stefanski team offensive ranks.
Yeah.
Starting in 2020, their overall team offensive rank is 14th. 2021, it's 20th. 2022, it's 18th. 2023, it's 11th. Okay, so nothing in the top 10.
Yeah.
Then if you go to the passing offense ranking specifically, in 2020, this is the playoff year now, 2020, 24th in passing.
Yeah.
2021, 27th in passing. 2022, 22nd in passing. 2023, 19th in passing in this year as of right now. Going into this game, they were 26th in passing. So Baker Mayfield got ran out of town. And you have people that say, well, we wish we had Baker back, or we wish we had Flacco back. When you look at these numbers, they were in the top 10 offense with those quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have the Minneapolis? I have the Minneapolis stat real quick because I wanted to just go back a little further.
Yeah.
When he was with Minneapolis, as an offensive coordinator, 2019, I think the only year he was offensive coordinator, they were 23rd.
Uh-huh.
So he's not this offensive mastermind like Mike McDonald or Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan. So we got to get our expectations right. That as long as he's calling
5 years into this,
5 years into this now,
yeah,
you got to get your expectations right that you're not going to have a top 5 passing attack with Kevin Stefanski calling the plays. We talked about
why. So why? Okay, so legitimately, so why is it because Flacco and PJ Walker and these other guys can get in there and they can run his it's his system. Like, okay, so if like somebody asked this question on the air on the radio programming saying, okay, we got this Ken Dorsey guy now, but what the hell is he there for?
Right.
Because you basically have Stefanski running Dorsey's plays, right? Right. Okay, so it's just okay. What's the purpose of Ken Dorsey then? Should we just revert back to Kevin Stefanski's plays? I mean, I guess I'm just trying to wrap my head and figure this out because. So when Flacco's winning and PJ Walker's winning, why are they winning? And and Deshaun won. Last year he won 4 or 5 games before he got sidelined. So he was winning a year ago, but right now, and some people have been saying still, and I'm not going to totally disagree with this, is that Deshaun is still getting back. You know, he is a little rusty because he's like week 3. He didn't do the preseason. I guess I'm just trying to figure out why is that? Why are these guys able to win, come in, throw for 400 yards like Flacco was doing, and Deshaun can't? Is it because I don't know?
Well, we talked about that. I got the stats here. Against the Rams, they were 20th in pass defense. Jacksonville was 26th against the pass. Chicago was 25th against the pass. Houston was 23rd against the pass. The Jets were 2nd against the pass, but they had I don't even know who their quarterback was. We talked about it. So again, we got to put these things in context.
Yeah, who they were going up against, sure.
So again, the expectations have to be tempered that if Kevin Stefanski is calling your plays, you're going to have an average to below average passing attack.
But you can see, Jarrell, where a lot of people like myself are complaining about Watson because there are many moments, and I've been reading other people have been around football and been in the trenches, and what they're saying is that there are, and what I'm seeing too from my vantage point, there are players that are getting open. There are, and that Watson just isn't reacting, isn't reading these situations quick enough, and it seems to a lot of people, especially when you're in the stadium, he's not reacting, like he's not seeing things. And I don't know what it feels like watching it on TV, but like in that 4th down play after when Winston, they put him in on the 3rd down play, and then he gets, was manhandled. So they put Watson back in there on the 4th down play, the second to last drive, the Browns had the ball. When he released, there's some film out there, and maybe you can go back and look at it. But I think it's Jerry Jeudy again, or somebody is wide open
in the flat.
The flat.
Yeah.
Is it because Watson saw it, but maybe he thought one of the linemen was going to jump up and knock down his pass? I mean, we to see some of these angles, it's unfair sometimes because he is open, but there's probably something to, in the play. Yeah.
On the telecast, he missed them. I mean, there's no question about it. He missed that read. It in real time you could see it that he missed that read.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they're missing. That's what a lot of people are just seeing.
So let me pause you there. And then I'm gonna come up with this next batch of stats because I went back and watched the tape that Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad put out on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Were Browns fans saying the same thing about Baker Mayfield? because there's footage that's 8 minutes of him missing Odell Beckham wide
Sure.
open.
Right.
Now,
Right.
the common denominator in that is that Kevin Stefanski was calling the play. So this is a good segue to this last little batch of stats I hear.
Okay.
We're going to go into scoring offense now. 2020, the Browns were 21st in overall scoring offense. In 2021, they were 14th. In 2022, they were 20th. In 2023, they were 14th. And this year, as of right now, they're 23rd. Okay. So again, nothing even close to the top 10. If we go points per game, 2020, they were 14th, averaging 25.5 points per game.
Right.
In 2021, they were 20th, averaging 20.5 points per game, so down 5 points. In 2022, they were 18th in points per game, averaging 21.2. And in 2023, last year, they were 10th in points per game, 23.3. Why do I bring that up? You see that those numbers, they're up, they're down, then they're starting to trend back up a little bit. But the problem is that it's still not consistent enough and explosive enough to where in a game like today, when you gotta have the drives,
right?
You gotta engineer the stuff.
Well, the Browns had 3 of them. They had 3 chances in that last 9 minutes. And to be fair, I mean Jerome Ford's that. I mean, and I don't know. Like I think they gave the fumble to Watson, but you saw. I didn't see it on TV.
Yeah, that was Ford. That was on Ford.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was they had just completed a pass to Cooper, a couple of them in that drive. It was this first drive after they had scored the touchdown, and everybody was really hyped in the stadium, and it was just like the balloon got, poked by the needle. It just took everything out. Even after that, the Browns had 2 more chances because the defense did start, shutting the Giants down, who, like you said, aren't a very good team. Let's pause real quick, Jarrell, for a quick break here on the Fanatical Elves. This is our post-game show where the Browns go down to defeat to the New York Giants. We'll be right back. And we're back here on the Fanatical Elves post-game show, a late-night post-game show. That's Jarrell Flint. I'm John Suchan. Thank you for being here. It was a fun day in stretches. I got to go up there with my son. Beautiful weather here in Cleveland. It did rain on the way back to Columbus. Thank God we got a little rain here in Columbus. We're like the most severe drought ever in the state of, like, I've ever lived here in 50 some years. It looks like Kansas where I lived for 26 years. So we're happy to see the rain. All right, Jarrell, what else? It's just so many, like the first half where they scored the touchdown, but then the defense was porous and they gave up 2 more touchdowns.
Well, the thing that I'm seeing this season is that these offenses, once you get out in front, like Dallas, once you get out in front, you can come off the gas a little bit because the Browns offense in 3 weeks really hasn't shown the consistency to be able to, they can score 20 points in, 5 minutes. Like they haven't shown that propensity. So to me, and this is going to be a common theme throughout the season until it happens. I'm trying to speak this into existence. Based on my understanding of the last 5 years of this Kevin Stefanski experiment, we only have one example where he didn't call the plays. That was in the Steelers game where they put up 49. Notice that a lot of the games that they've lost that are big games, you can say. I can think of the Green Bay game. I can think of the Chiefs game in the playoffs. I can think of a couple of games this season. If they can score 25 points, they can win most games.
Yeah.
Even going back to last year, if they can score 25, they can win most games. But as you can see, based on the average here, Kevin Stefanski's only averaged 25 points one time, and that was good for 14th in the league. So that wasn't even top 10. He did it. So to me, with this defense that can hold people to your 14s, to your 17s, 21, you got to be able to get, and you're an offensive coach. You're not a defensive coach like Tomlin.
Right.
You understand? You're not a defensive coach like Harbaugh. I think, didn't Harbaugh a defensive coach?
Yes.
Defense. Yeah. So that to me, in 5 years with the litany of quarterbacks that you've had,
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, who was a number 1 pick, everybody in between Deshaun Watson. I think we have to try it. I think they have to see what can it look like, because you got one example that looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the common denominator that I see that can maybe alleviate a lot of the frustration.
Which is, explain that again. Like basically,
Stefanski giving up play calling and letting Dorsey call his offense. Let's just see what that look like. Especially, you got, who do they have next? They have the Raiders, who just lost to the Panthers.
The Carolina Panthers. By the way, I won a FanDuel parlay today. My son Alec talked to me before the game, and surprisingly, I had $25 in my FanDuel account.
Okay,
and so I spent like $5 on something, and I think I had, who's the quarterback for Carolina now? Andy Dalton.
Yes.
So he threw. I think he had to throw for more than 32 passes or something. I had that, and then a couple other things that happened today. So I think I won $10. So
go get your sandwich tomorrow.
Yeah, I will. No, I wanted to just point this out too, and I think, Jarrell, you and I both, we're Browns fans. We're disappointed and we're disheartened. I had a group of 3 Giant fans sitting next to us, and it was funny because the beginning of the game was just so bad for the Giants, and then it all changed, and they were very happy with the results.
Yep.
But they were like, well, we're not very good, like they were saying about their team. I said, well, Daniel Jones looks like the next Tom Brady against us today. But there were a lot of games today in the NFL. What I was getting at is there were a lot of games today where the home team lost. Mm-hmm. And in the NFL, it's just been a weird year so far. Lots of up and down. So, the Saints lost. We thought the Saints were unbeatable. They lose to the Eagles at home. The Squealers, of course, they won. We can talk about the Squealers another time. But the Buccaneers, where are the Baker Bros?
Mm-hmm.
They go down to defeat against the Broncos. Everybody always wants to say, "Oh, the Broncos are terrible." Well, we lost the Broncos a year ago.
Yeah.
Everybody coming into this game said, "Oh, the Giants are terrible. Well, there's no way we should lose it," but we did.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans lost the home game, not the to the Packers. We lost. The Colts did beat the Bears, but the Raiders lost at home to the Carolina Panthers, who nobody in God's green earth would have thought would have won that game. We also had the Cowboys losing at home to the Ratbirds. The Cardinals, the hot Cardinals, lost at home to the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams did squeak out a home win against the San Francisco 49ers, but there's just been a lot of fluctuation. So I guess Browns fans, what I'm trying to say, and you already know this, Browns fans, is that, next week we can go out to Vegas and get a win, and we'd be 2-2.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's why it's never none of the playoff seeding is a set, so there's no reason to panic. But they're about to get into a rough stretch where you got the Eagles and the Bengals and the Ravens, and they got to get it together before they get into this that they got.
I don't like the balance of the offense. I mean, the 37 passes, the 12 runs are just god awful. I mean, that in itself, if you just look at that stat, I mean, that blows my mind. And people will say, "Oh, well, we were behind." Bull crap.
No, you weren't.
Bull crap. Yeah, those folks out there who want to talk about this being a passing league and all this crap, and that stat alone, that's where I get frustrated with Stefanski, because that's where, like, beyond all the stuff that you've already mentioned, which is true, it just like, ugh. And then he is using Ford and not Foreman. And Ford might get you a play here and there, but it's like my son Clay said at the game today, because we were watching, Foreman or Ford, and he'll miss the hole sometimes. Okay. A lot of times he likes to go parallel, but when he does hit a hole, he doesn't have that physicality, the strength that like a Nick Chubb did, and that's what we all miss, because there was one series where Ford would get the ball, right, and he got like a five yard carry, and I looked at my son, I said, Chubb would have had 10. And he says, yeah, Chubb would have had 10. The next play, he went for, I think Ford went for 10. And we looked at each other and said, Chubb would have had at least 20 or 25 on that run. It's just, those are the things.
Chubb, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think the absence of Chubb is probably highlighting the problem with Stefanski's play calling, because I think Chubb masked a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with that. And yes, I mean, you have a special player, and look, I think Stefanski's he's a good coach. Obviously, he's 2-time coach of the year, blah, blah, I hear that all, but I'm not that far off, Jarrell, from what your takes are. I just think that there's other big issues out there, and I think Watson is not what he used to be, and we don't need him to be what he's used to be, but there's just not a synchronization of him and the offense and the body language and the conversations after the games. I don't know where this is headed. I told the guys with the Giants, and I don't want any injuries, but I said, there'll be some sort of mysterious new injury that'll pop up that will, like, Deshaun will sit down to kind of create, because even the Giants fans next to me, they were like, yeah, you guys got some issues. And I said, yeah, I said, we do.
So what grade would you give Watson today, totality of the game, and compared to week 1? Because we know week 1 he was.
I mean, it was better. So compared to week 1, yeah, it was better. But then there was that series in the one of the series. It was, I think, in the third quarter where he had 2 passes, one to Elijah Moore and one to Amari Cooper, that if you saw it from my angle, the pass to Elijah Moore, he was wide open, and he threw the ball on a dart, but he threw it 10 yards over his head, or at an angle where if he just throws it accurately, if it had been on the money, he could have gone for a touchdown. There was another pass similar to that. So overall, I mean, I would say it was an improvement from Dallas. There weren't nearly the number of overthrows and all that. And by the way, Cooper, he made a few hell of great catches. So I'd give him a C. I mean, in the totality of everything, I wouldn't give him like a B. I wouldn't give him an F or probably a D. I think, he got sacked 8 times, but a couple of those are odd because of the linemen. A couple of them are because he holds onto the ball too more, rolls out, and then like the one where he rolled out early in the game in the first or second quarter when it was still kind of like 7-7 or 14-7, and he rolled out to the right and he kept holding the ball, and he releases it right before he goes to the ground, and they called intentional grounding because the ball didn't go, but he basically underthrew it, and that was kind of one of those stupid ass throws that he knows better. He should know better as a professional not to do that. And he did that. And I was like, what the,
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I saw a little bit more accuracy. I think that sixth sense is starting to come back to him a little bit, but I still think he's not, because he hesitates a lot too. You'll see him kind of double clutch or the ball.
Well, the throw he did the double clutch on late in the game to Cooper, it was a little, I think he double clutched on that, and it was a beautiful, right there on the sideline. I think Coop caught it, and that was on their touchdown drive. And then later in that drive, then he hit, Coop just on the little, what do you call slant, in. It was a great drive, but that was, they got in a little groove.
Yeah. The problem is that for every drive like that, and today was a perfect example. You start the game with a bang, bam.
Yeah.
Then it takes 5 or 6 drives again to get in a rhythm and replicate that. And that's the difference between the Ravens or the Chiefs or some of these other teams that you're going to have to go through in the AFC. They're at least able to manufacture a drive and get 3 points if it doesn't result in a touchdown.
Someone was talking about the defense, especially early in that game. And I kept talking to the guys from New York because they were prepared. The Giants were prepared offensively, where they were so much taking advantage of the Browns' aggressiveness on defense, and they were tailoring those screen passes wonderfully. And Daniel Jones played a hell of a game. I mean, he was, the touch that he had in the timing I mean, they were just going bonkers on some of those screen passes. I don't know who was the offensive guy now for the Giants. It was Brian.
I think
He was,
doesn't Dayball call the plays for
yeah,
them?
because they were saying basically how a lot of people were surprised that Schwartz really just, I mean, he was really outcoached,
Oh yeah.
especially in that first half.
But let me ask you this though: is that so? When we watch these games, you watch other teams, you're like, oh wow, that was the right play call. Like, oh, that's what they're attacking.
Yeah.
What did the Browns attack today?
I don't think like, for example, we didn't throw a screen pass until this late in the second quarter or second half. I mean,
I don't even. I was going to ask you if they even threw a screen.
they did. What was your question again?
Why is it that who what were they attacking? What was the Browns attack? Were they attacking somebody in the secondary? Like, what was the weakness in the Giants they were trying to exploit? Because this is 3 weeks in a row that
That's a very good point.
You see what I'm saying? Whereas it looked like the Giants were like, oh, you're gonna put Emerson on Neighbors?
Well, now they said Cooper. Defensively, yeah. You know that you got to give some props to Neighbors. I mean, first off, that from my angle, when he threw that pass to Neighbors in the third or fourth quarter, or maybe in the first half, where, I mean, legitimately from our side, we thought Martin Emerson got the interception. And then all of a sudden we hear the roar and it's like Neighbors somehow came down with it.
Yeah.
And that touchdown pass that he caught in the back of the end zone. Wow. That was amazing. But no, I think Denzel. Okay, so they put Denzel, didn't they, on Neighbors in the second half?
Second half they did.
Yeah, and
then he was quiet after that. But why?
Right.
But I don't get, like, there's this narrative, because you remember there was a big contingent of people that said, well, let's trade Newsome and Emerson is next.
Yeah.
I think this year has kind of shown he's probably not a number one corner, because he struggles with guys that are shiftier and have speed.
Yeah. So, it's we got problems, 99 problems. We'll see what happens next week. We get to travel. I think I kept telling Clay, my son, like, I think mentally for this team, there's nothing better than some road cooking, like home cooking. They're going to be road cooking. And maybe, when teams go on the road and they have to travel together, maybe this does something for them, because this is a huge part of their season. And the good thing is they're 1-2. It's early. It's week 3. I've seen the Browns teams in the past recover, but if they lose a couple more consecutively and they get to 1-4, Lord help us, 1-5. If you go 1-4, I mean, you got to win the next one. If you go 1-5, I think the season's cooked. If you go 1-4, you can get a win back. 2-4. Everyone's talking, oh, we're going to go 4-2, 3-3. Folks, we got to get one more. We got to get a win next week. So
they got 3 straight road games. So like you said, they got the Raiders, then the Commanders, and then the Eagles. So we'll see. That's a good point. I never thought about it like that, but they got to take it 1 week at a time. And I really would like to see Haslam call up Stefanski and say, look, man, we have 5 years. Maybe I need to send these stats to Haslam, actually.
Well, I think it's funny because as Browns fans, I mean, we find ourselves in this, like, I'm to be very honest, I mean, we've talked about it, and you've just talked about it just tonight, that you look at Stefanski and you look at the holistic of it, and, he comes in 2020. We give him a lot of props. It's COVID year. They get to the playoffs. No, he didn't coach the playoff game, but okay. But then the next 2 years, you have all these, personalities on the team, Landry and Beckham and Baker, but you go sub 500. You go sub 500.
Can I pause you right there? Listen to what you just said.
Yeah.
Beckham, Landry, and Mayfield.
Yes.
And he couldn't make that work.
No, I know. That's and the thing is it was always something, but that's where, again, I agree with you. Like, I've always said that I don't feel personally that Stefanski, when you see those videos, and it gets us all excited and I get pumped up when But you know how when you can sincerely, when you watch some of these locker room moments with coaches, and I'll just give you another example: Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now I know they lost today, and I forget the guy's name who's coaching there in Tampa Bay, but older guy. But you watch the demeanor of these coaches and how they approach their teams, and he's more old school. He said some things. Yeah, right. I don't know. Stefanski's just like, I think he's young. He's always been this offensive coordinator. He's raising a family. He's in good shape physically. He's got to look sharp. He's one of these guys who I'm sure he's a great guy. He was a former athlete, played at Penn, all these things, grew up in Philly area, right? Or Philly, good family, everything. I'm sure he's a great guy. I don't know. I just don't, and so you're like, you talk about what we just said again, Landry, Beckham, Baker, sub 500 seasons. Then, last year, they get Watson back. They get through the season. They go through 4 or 5 quarterbacks. They get to the playoffs. Everyone's coming into this year is going, oh, we're going to win 12 games. We're going to win 13 games. We're going to, we're going back to this Super Bowl contender. I mean, we've all talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, 1-2. It's a long season. I've seen former Browns teams from the 80s and 90s struggle like this at the beginning of the season. So I'll have hope. I'm sure you'll have hope. But Browns fans are tired of hope. We're exhausted. And
well, I think part of what Browns fans, again, I think we got to temper our expectations, but we also, the organization, because The Last Dance, and I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Jerry Krause, he gets a lot of flack for, and he should, because he was the main reason that the Bulls broke up.
Yeah.
But he was the main reason that those teams, him and Jerry Reinsdorf, they put those teams together for them to win. And they had to make some tough organizational decisions, firing Doug Collins after they had just went to the Eastern Conference Finals, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The organization is going to have to start being on the same accord and saying, all right, they've been average for 5 years, and average is better than what it's been since 90. Let's just say that. Let's put it right out here now and say from 2020 onward, since Kevin Stefanski got here, the last 5 years has been better than 99 since they got back. There's nobody that would dispute that. The problem is that, it's been better, but that's a very low bar to step over, because in those 5 years, while it's been better, you still haven't won the division. I don't know that you've really come closer.
Not looking at winning the division right now, with Pittsburgh being 3-0, but
exactly. So then you have to say, okay, Kevin Stefanski the ceiling might have been reached with him, to where we got to try to get to the next level. And I'm not calling for nobody's job. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, if you look at the stats, if we talked about them, you got a 5-year sample size. The 5-year sample size of those stats offensively is mediocre to below average.
Yeah.
Defense, on the other hand, you can say they've had exceptional stats.
Yes.
You have some exceptional stats on the defensive side.
Right.
So if he's an offensive coach, he's your offensive play caller, and a lot of it's been kind of up and down. It's been average.
Yeah.
I think you might have to have we're not going to fire you, but you know what? We're going to take this play calling out of your hands and see if we can get to some exceptional.
Well, I think something's got to be done. I mean, especially if they finish this season sub 500, or if he goes even worse, because I mean, everyone's records. I mean, it's going to be a tough season. The one saving grace here is that this season is weird right now. Teams are losing at home. This was a good example of many teams losing that were the home team. So we'll see what happens next week. A lot more to talk about. Will you have a show out later this week, you think, or what are you working on?
I actually just thought of a title, and I think it's going to be related.
You got a title?
I think we're going to talk about has Kevin Stefanski's ceiling been reached, and we're going to do a little deeper dive into these stats, because I do think that
I like it.
I
like it. I think a lot of people will listen to that because there's a lot of conversation out there tonight. Browns fans, keep your heads up. It's going to be a Monday coming up. The sun's going to rise, and and it could even rain here in Ohio, or it's been so that's good news for us folks down in Columbus, because we're in a severe drought, if you didn't know. Jarrell, have a very good rest of your evening.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your baby duty.
I appreciate that.
And tomorrow night, we'll be doing Stirring the Pot with Lou Marconi and myself, Johnny Cleveland. Steve Gill will have his Dog Pound South show. So tune in for that, and lots of other shows coming up later this week, including the Browns Blitz, the Browns Breakdowns, Dog Food Radio there with Jarrell, Breezy Browns Talk with Sherry, Browns Fangirl. Everybody, have a good night. Oh, Noah Olson, let's forget him. East Bank Sports Show tomorrow night. Catch him live. Jarrell, take it easy.
Do the same.
I'm going to try and get my voice back.